اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So I want to remind ourselves of something we spoke about maybe 2 weeks ago and maybe last week as well, which is the concept of the ghaib and how we live in 3 worlds at the same time. We live in 3 levels of being at the same time. So can anybody remember any of those words? They all begin. There was one begins with a meme, the second one begins with a meme, and the third begins with a jim. Mulk. So the mulk is the physical world. This is where we live. Okay, when I do something, when I clap, it makes a sound. There's a compression of things, the sound bounces around. This is how there's things that work on a political level, on a scientific level, of cultural level. When I slap somebody, they get annoyed with me. That's how things work in this life. Right? This is called the mulk. If you want to get some money, you want to buy a house, go and work. Money doesn't just come out of nowhere. Right? So in the mulk, we don't see Allah's power. We think about it, but we don't see these things. Things always, sometimes things don't work in a normal way, and we call that a karama, right? A miracle, right? Doesn't make sense. But otherwise, things work in a certain way. And that's how we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the mulk. We don't say, Allah doesn't say, okay, Freed, make sure you pray Fajr on time. Okay, fine, I'm going to sleep tonight at 2 o'clock in the morning and won't set an alarm clock. And I wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and say, oh Allah, nothing happened. Say, no, go to sleep early, set an alarm clock. Now, could you wake up on time? Yeah, you could. But you worship Allah in the way that things work today, right? And that's how you fulfill your obligations to other people. You're in debt, go and work, get some money. Make dua, right? Make dua, but go and do things. That's how we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the mulk. This is called the mulk, right? The mulk means like mamlakat, right? You guys say mamlakat, right? Right, in Farsi, mamlakat, the kingdom, right? This is called the mulk. And then there is the super kingdom, which is called the malakut. Malakut. Malakut in Arabic means like, when you put ut on the end, it means like super thing. Like, yeah, it means like, taghut, right? Taghut is like super shirk, super horrible paganism, taghut, right? And so Malakut is the super kingdom, which is the world of angels. Where does the rain come from? From the angels. What do good deeds do? When you say Bismillah, for example, the food changes. Okay, did you see the food change in the mulk? No. Is the food changing in the malakut? Yes. When you, in the mulk, if you walk in the door and say Bismillah, same. Say the dua, for example, of entering a masjid or dua, it's all the same. In the malakut, the angels are writing down your deeds. The world around you is changing. It's like a different place, right? It's like a different place. Things are happening. When you make wudu, what happens to your face? What's coming off your face? The sins are coming off your face, right? When you look at your father in the face and smile, something's happening. There's all these things, all the good deeds and bad deeds are having real things in the malakut, that's the big kingdom. So there's a small kingdom, that's what we see. And then there's the malakut, the world of the jinn and the world of the angels and the worlds of nar and hellfire and all these things. And this is what's happening in that world. And then we have the world of the jinn. And it ends in ut, Jabarut. Okay, so in the world of the malakut, when you say something haram, there's something happens to things. There's a darkness, there's a sin, there's all these things. There's physically a sin being written down, right? Right? And the malakut, you can cause things to happen and change things to happen. When you say Allah forgives you. In the malakut, you give some sadaqah and you get better. In the mulk, sadaqah doesn't do anything to you. In the malakut, it does. But then there's the jabarut. And before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is there any cause, event, and effect? No. There's just kun fayakun, be and it is. Your sadaqah doesn't do anything to Allah. It doesn't say, oh Allah, move Allah here, move Allah there. Whoa. You can't change Allah. So that's the jabarut. Jabar, majbur. You say majbur in Farsi, you're forced. That's the world of kun fayakun, be and it is. There's no cause, event, effect. There's just Allah and His will. And that's the absolute jabr. the absolute place of majboor or majbooreen, where your good deeds and bad deeds don't change things. Allah's not forced to accept put you in paradise. Right? On Yawm al-Qiyamah, the Quran that you recited will come and save you from the hellfire. That's in the level of the malakut, not in the mulk. In the level of the jabarut, it's just kun fayakun, being it is. Right? So we live in these three worlds in one go. They're not three different places. They're not three different mindsets. We live in these three things in one time. And as like closer and closer and closer we get to the end of time, the nizam ad-dunyawi, the way that things work now, starts to disappear. And eventually you'll be eventually at the end of time, when the dabbatul ard, when the beast will come out of the ground, that's just too weird. That's just not normal. This is now the world of the malakut. And then it'll be the end of time, and the people coming out of the grave and all these things. And then we'll only see the malakut. In Jannah, there isn't cause, event, and effect. You don't go and earn money to pay your bills. There's no bills. There's no earning money. You just see amazing things happen. You say, oh Allah, I want to go and see Nasir. Suddenly from one place of Jannah, all the other side, you go and see Nasir. There's no system. It's just karamat happening all the time. It's all crazy things, right? So you're just in the malakut. Okay, so why are we reminding ourselves of these three worlds? We're reminding ourselves of the mulk, the malakut, and the jabarut. Because when we live our lives, we have to think in these levels. Somebody, for example, who only lives in the mulk, what do they say? If I take a riba loan, I'll have money. So they can look at the finance. If I take this amount of money, how much would I have to pay back? And when? And can I do it? Can I not? That's what we're looking at. Is it good or bad? Good or bad means are you going to make money or not? That's what's good or bad, right? And so nothing is happening. In the level of the malakut, what happens? You take the riba loan. Suddenly darkness everywhere. It's all messy. The house, the mashallah, beautiful house that looks so nice is not beautiful in the malakut because it's from riba. Your life, your relations with other people, your children, it doesn't work out because it's all haram. And in the jabarut, you're saying, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're not recognizing the jabarut, that Allah is in control of everything, and Allah. And when you try and work in a way that doesn't work with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're not recognizing, you're not appreciating, you're not walking along with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So it doesn't work. So we want to talk about this in the context of things that we say. Okay, the things that we say. And so since the time of Sayyidina Adam to now, people have been speaking. And people have been saying good things, and people have been saying bad things. And so some of these things are dangerous, and we say them a lot. And in reality, any sin that you do on a regular basis becomes a major sin. So any sin that you do on a regular basis becomes a major sin. So you can't just say, oh, khalas, it's a minor sin. Sorry. You can't have that attitude. Rather, anything that you persist in, you do on a regular basis becomes a major sin, right? Any small problem that happens again and again and again and again. For example, you keep forgetting to lock the office. Your manager says, bro, who was the last person? Oh, it was Ali, right? He forgot to lock the office. Can you just not do that again, bro? It's like, alhamdulillah, nothing happened, but just make sure you do that. It happened again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. We're like, Ali, you're either going to do this job or you're not. There's two ways about it. Either lock the door or you're not going to lock the door. Because I know it's a small thing, not really responsibility, security, but you were the last person, lock the door. Any small thing that happens again and again and again and again and again is a big issue. Right? And so one of the things we do is we use language that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like. And we have to now think about what happens when we say these words, what is happening in the mulk, and what is happening in the malakut, and how does it react to the jabarut, right? And so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, ليس المؤمن بالطعان ولا باللعان ولا الفاحش ولا البذيء أو كما قال. Right, the Prophet ﷺ said, in the approximate meaning, he said that the believer is not a backstabber, and the believer is not somebody who curses, and the believer is not somebody who talks about the haram, and the believer is not somebody who talks about the gross, right? And the Prophet, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's many hadiths, many verses of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden many types of language, right? Many kind of things that we can say. So who can give an example of something that is haram to say? So the hadith mentioned what? Backstabbing. The hadith mentioned talking about the immoral. The hadith mentioned talking about what? Something disgusting. hadith mentioned the cursing anybody else. So we'll talk about these in a second, but who can think about something that is haram to say with your tongue? Shirk, right? To walk around saying there's many gods besides Allah. Okay, what if you don't believe in it? I don't believe in it, but that's haram, you can't do that. And in fact, before the court, you'd have left this, right? Before the court, you say, yeah, I should believe in lots of gods. Okay, is this guy sane or not? What's he doing? So in the books of fiqh, they will tell us things that will be considered shirk and ridda, as apostasy. And if you did that, we'll label you as a disbeliever, even though you believe in with Allah's eyes. You've done something haram, and you're a disbeliever. Because as far as we know, the court works with the outward. Right? This person, they say even if he did it as a joke. For example, I have a statue of Ronald McDonald. You guys, Ronald McDonald? The old McDonald man? Yeah. Right? You just say, here's a picture of me on Instagram. I love McDonald's. So doing sujood to Ronald McDonald. That goes, right? So that's not just haram because it's stupid. It's not just haram. The court will label me as a disbeliever. And I'm trying to marry so-and-so, and they're like, no, you can't because you're not a believer. You have to do the shahada, right? And the court, right? You're still a believer because you believe, right? But you can't do stuff like that. That's haram, okay? So shirk, mentioning shirk is haram. Anything else, Omar? Lying. Lying, right? So lying is haram. Everybody knows that, right? Nobody thinks that lying is halal, right? But there's two issues with lying that we want to talk about. Number one is, three issues actually. Lying. One issue is sharing facts with people that you're not even sure of at all, right? So Omar tells Nasir, who tells Ali, who tells Farid, that the mosque is closed tomorrow, right? Now, if I know that Ali only tells me things that are true, and I trust him, I can tell somebody else. I can say, hey, the mosque's closed tomorrow. But if I have no confidence in what Ali said, or Ali said, hey, this is what I heard Nasir say that Omar said, then I cannot go around saying this is the case. You can't say there's a sale tomorrow at whatever. Yeah, exactly. You can't say that. Unless you think that's the case. Okay, there's an advert. Okay, well, you don't believe the advert? Well, the advert could be lying, but it's not very likely. Or my friend, who never lies, told you the case thing. And so saying something that you're not really sure of at all is haram. So what do? I think. Very simple. Right? Oh yeah, his number is this. Yeah, do you know that? And you're embarrassed to say that you don't know, so you say, yeah, it is the case, bro. Right? You asked me a question in Shafi fiqh. So Farid, how long have you been studying Shafi fiqh? Probably about 20 years. And you don't know this answer? What's this? 20 years you don't know this answer? Yeah, I prefer to speak the truth and say, I don't know the answer. And I'm not sure, I think, as opposed to saying it's the case when it's not the case. Right? And so that's what we do. It's like, what is it? Is it this or is it this? I'm not sure. I think he said this. I can't remember the hadith. Is exactly the Prophet say la'an, then ta'an or ta'an la'an. I can't remember. So I said that's the approximate meaning. You say, well, now put me on the spot when you're live, bro. You better know it. And you're supposed to be the sheikh. Yeah, I don't know. It's better to embarrass yourself than to say anything else as well. Something is the case. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. Nasir told me, and that's it. What's the big deal? Oh, Nasir's actually lying. And he's an inveterate liar, and you just didn't know that. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. But, like, you have to have confidence. So saying something you don't have confidence on is considered lying, right? The other thing is we can't lie to kids. Like, many people lie to kids. It's like, oh yeah, it's like no, don't watch SpongeBob and SquarePants because it causes cancer. And it's like, really? And you scared them, right? Who was told told by their parents that, like, when they were little, like, if you don't go to sleep, what's called the boogeyman's gonna get you. Yeah. And it's like how to get these kids off my case, right? It's like, that's called lying. That's called lying. You can't do that, right? So you can't do that. You can't lie to kids, right? And so you're not allowed to do just because you're a kid and it doesn't matter. It's like the hurma of sidq is important, truthfulness, right? And your kids grow. Basically, what does it mean when the kid finally finds out that he was lied to? He'll realize you don't value him. You're an idiot. And basically, it's like being cheated. Someone's cheated on for 20 years, and you're like, dude, this woman thinks or this man thinks I'm the biggest idiot on the face of the earth. You feel like an utter idiot, right? So you can't do that. It's a disrespect to somebody, and it's not truth, right? Number one thing we're trying to teach our kids is truth, like speak the truth, basic thing, right? So you cannot lie to kids. So you can't tell somebody something else that you're not sure is the case unless you say, I think, I've heard, right? That's why why can you quote a weak hadith? You can quote a weak hadith, you say, it has been narrated from the Prophet ﷺ that he said this. Did he say that? I don't know. Okay, well, why are you saying the weak hadith? Because I didn't say he said it. I said it has been narrated that he said it. That's all. Right? And they say in Arabic, Man asnada ilayka faqad ahida ilayka. Whoever gives you their chain of transmission, their source, they've given you the responsibility. So I didn't say that tomorrow the mosque is closed. I said Nasir said that, Omar said that, Ali said that, Bob said that, Chloe said that, Stacy said that, the Imam said that. It's like, how does Stacy even know the Imam? I don't know. You go and ask. I've given you the source, right? It says it in this magazine that Mercedes are coming out with this new thing. Is that actually the case? Fox News says that this is the case. Well, I didn't say that is the case. I said Fox News said that was the case, right? So when you say something, you've got to have some level of confidence that it's true.
So you say
or approximately. That's what it seems to me the case. In medicine, do we say, yeah, you've got cancer? You don't say that. You say, it's either you have a certain way of conveying information, and right? So number one, that. Number two, lying to kids. Number three, white lies. Right, white lies. And so white lies, it has basically two roles. Okay, two roles with your spouse and with other people. So Ratib and Abdul Majid have been speaking to each other for the last 2 weeks. Okay? And so I come on, I'm speaking. So Abdul Majid's like, yeah, Ratib's like this, like this, like this. I'm like, I don't think he's really the case. And actually, many times I think he's sided with you. Now I'm lying, right? I'm lying, but I'm trying to repair these relations. Now, you've got to be a bit clever, because if you're completely lying to his face, he's going to work it out. But you are trying to repair relations. So you can do that in that scenarios. When you're just trying to repair, like the guys, that thing he's already forgiven you. I know that. In fact, he hasn't. I know that if you think he's forgiven, if you've forgiven you, and you think he's forgiven you, then it's like you can start talking. It's kind of cool, right? He's forgot about it completely. So I lie about that. Okay, that's to repair relationships, right? That's considered a white lie. Okay.
So that's jaiz.
That's jaiz. You can do that. You can do that. Now with your wife, it's slightly different, right? With your wife, it's slightly different. So with your wife, she's like, tell me straight. Am I the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth? Like, no lies. And you're like, Wallahi, you're the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth, right? So that's called a white lie, right? So in terms of in the mulk, like you got to be a bit clever. You got to be a bit clever. No, you got to be clever. Because like if you say something that's just ridiculous, what's the point in believing you, right? But you can say certain things like that, right? That's called white lying. But here's the difference, right? So Ratib's wife asks him, "Am I the most beautiful when you're like this? Like never think of anybody else, whatever." And then she says, "Why did you pay the phone bill?" Because my phone's not working, right? Now he's embarrassed in front of his wife. Okay, he's embarrassed in front of his wife, and he's not trying to it's not something to do with his relationship with his wife. That's like, okay, his role as a husband, role of the man of the house. Did you pay the phone bill? Like, dude, he forgot for the second month to pay the phone bill, right? And now he's embarrassed. He's trying to cover his back, right? Basically, now you're too chicken to say the truth, as opposed to you're trying to sort of save someone's heart. It's two different things, right? And I've seen that with my own eyes. Right? I borrowed money from somebody once, and the guy was like, "Would you mind if we step outside?" I was like, "Okay, it's fine." Like he didn't want to do it in his house, and that's okay. And like it was like really weird. Like he's really basically scared of his wife, and scared of his wife. Yeah, that's a relationship. Really scared of his wife finding out. And and it's just like, and so you can see that he might be in a weird scenario. He's like, "Oh, I saw this thing come out of the account. Like, what's going on?" And he's like coming up with these things. It's like, are you doing that to save someone's heart, or are you doing that because you're chicken? Like, there's two different things, right? So saving someone's feelings is one thing. That's the white lie that we can do. But like, you kind of chicken, or it's this, or it's that. It's like, or Ratib has a second wife in Bangladesh, and he goes there. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to charity, mashallah. Every Bangladesh I've established charity over there, meaning his second household. It's like that's called lying. That's not called white lies, right?
At a friend like
Yeah, it's just that's
5 years later, we found out he had another child in
Yeah. So that's
Morocco. What
Yeah.
And had a wife here in San Francisco 5 years later. And I'm just going for next thing you know, that's my son.
yeah. So do we, yeah. What do we say in that scenario? So we say a man can have more than one wife, but you're not a man, right? My friend is he's got more than 2 wives. He said if you want to have a second wife, you look your wife in the eyes and say, I am going to have a second wife. If you're too chicken to do that, don't go and have a second wife because you're too chicken, right? So that's not right. So that's being chicken. There's a difference between being chicken and honestly like trying to save someone's heart. Like, they feel really upset about this thing. Like, no, your food was really nice. Like, honestly, we had a barbecue, the whole family came around. That was fantastic. Like, really, really nice. I really do like it. Right? And she said I didn't cook it. I'm like,
yeah,
what if
the wife when she cooks and the husband never likes it, and one day like he hears somebody saying something good and he goes home and he's like, today I'm gonna tell her she cooked it. He makes it whenever she brings out the food and he has it like, oh, today was the best food and she had got it from the neighbor or something.
Right. Yeah, so that's an issue of what? That's not an issue of lying. That's an issue of, are you clever or not? Like, you're just not clever.
But you
like
have to tell your spouse that you're getting. I'm not saying.
Like, by the way, I'm on white lie mode.
No, like you're. In Deen, you have to tell your wife that you're getting a second wife.
No, you don't. You don't.
So,
but you don't have to be chicken, as opposed to here. This guy's gone off to Bangladesh. He's like, hey, what are you doing? Charity, meaning a second wife. Like, dude, that's lying.
Oh no, but if you're saying you're going,
you don't have to do anything. I'm traveling. I don't know. She's like
doing something else.
Right.
I don't know how. Yeah. So I'm traveling. I'm coming back in 6 months. Don't know what's going on. Is that a healthy relationship? That's something else, right? That's another thing. It's like, like this is how you work. Your wife does not know what you work, doesn't know where your money comes from, doesn't know what you spend. She says, my deal is with you. I come and go, whatever, that's it. Do I have to tell people? No. You don't. But is that a good relationship? No. And also that, I know people who do that, have like secret second wives. It's like, I told him, it's like, the whole point of is that it's supposed to be a tribe. You're building a family, right? You get married, you invite people, everybody knows about it. If nobody knows about it, you're not fitting. That's not how the Sharia works. It's basically halal zina, right? And that's like you're kind of playing with the deen, right? And it's not really halal, really. Anyway, so that's another thing. The point is, go ahead, Danny.
Is it like bad to like be too truthful though, where it does hurt the person's feelings?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I want to make like food and I don't like it, and to be truthful, I tell her I don't like it sometimes because I don't want to keep making it and pretend that I.
Yeah, but that's a right.
No, but is that like something?
Yeah, it's big people, right?
I want to tell her though. Again.
I know, but so you have to do it in a political way. Else, like not hurting people, right? That's something else.
What if you get out of the way? What if you get out of the situation by just being a clever way to say it? Yeah, for example, like this phone was right here, right? And they said, "Where's my phone?" And you said, "Oh, it was there."
Yeah, that's something else. That's called Tawriya. That's called Tawriya. So Tawriya is a trick that you do sometimes. So for example,
but is it allowed?
You're like, tell me your real name or I'll shoot you. Right? And you're like, what's my real name as registered in Afghanistan? And it's like Ahmed. So then you say Ahmed, right? And I don't shoot you. So that's called Tawriya, which is like, I don't mean your name that's registered in Afghanistan. I mean like your real name as in like what you're born with or whatever it is, right? So you're saying things that's not really what you mean by the truth, but it is ultimately true. So it's called Tawriya, and doing that a lot basically makes you a liar if you do that. But in a scenario, that's what they mentioned, like a scenario like where it's like you gun to the head, you should go to Tawriya first, right? And do something like that. Like, someone knocks on your door and they want to kill Ratib. Like, tell me where Ratib is right now. He's like, yeah, he's not in the house, bro. Not in the house, meaning that house. I said the house. I didn't mean this house. I said the house, meaning the one I'm referring to, right? So it's like playing with words. That's something else. It's not technically lying, but if it results in someone's rights being squandered, then it's haram. The same thing with white lies.
No, when this is a
Go ahead.
example. I had at the time when I was bringing my wife from Afghanistan.
See, when we start talking about second wives and lying to your wife, we have now 5 viewers. Right? They're going bang, bang, bang.
At the time when I was bringing my
see if my wife's name is there, right? Just
my wife from Afghanistan, they asked for birth certificate.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a birth certificate, or my wife didn't, right? And so I put down that she was from this province in Afghanistan, where she's from. But she was born and raised in Kabul. And so they're like, give me the birth certificate. So I couldn't go and make a fake one. Technically, you can't probably if you give the right person the right amount of money, right? So then I wrote a letter to USCIS, and I was like, due to the time that whatever this and this, and I said she was born in her hometown in Kabul, Afghanistan, or she was born in her home in Afghanistan. I just said that because she was actually born
in her home.
She
yeah
was born inside the house.
You didn't specify.
You talking about Taskira?
Yeah, so that's not
They accepted it.
that's not
They're like,
lying.
okay, she should have just said so.
Was that Taskira
Yeah.
you're talking about?
No, just
No, so that's Todia. But the thing is, even with lying, so lying you can do certain scenarios when your right is being taken away. So let's say, for example, Ratib's taken my car. Okay, the only way I can get it back is this mafia whatever thing they've got in my car. I'm like, I don't know how to get out of this. So if I lie, I can get my rights back. I can do that. Now it's ideal not to do it. Leave your rights, or to know that, for example, if I can lie, I can get my rights that are mine. Like I have a right, for example, to have a car back. I have a right to get my property. You can do that. But by default, you can't. But there's certain scenarios where it's like, well, is it my right to do that? So there was a question recently. I live in Dubai and you can't work. If your employees will not employ people after 60, can I lie to change my date of birth so that they actually employ me? It's like, well, no, because it's not your right to be employed. It's your right to your money, but it's not your right to be employed. The issue is someone's taken your rights away from you, right? They've taken you away from your children, and you could lie to get out of prison or lie to whatever it is, right? That's something else. And so these are things of lying. So what do you mention? Lying? Lying when it's, we said lying to children. We mentioned lying with not being sure about white lies. And there was a fourth thing as well, but I can't remember now. Okay, so lying. What else? Other sins of the tongue.
Curse.
Cursing. What do you mean by cursing?
That's an F word.
Swearing, right?
Swearing.
So there's two things about cursing. So cursing, what does it mean? When you curse somebody, it's I say, I swear, may Allah send so and so to hell. Right? That's what cursing is, right? And we use the curse word because a lot of these words they were originally religious words that were labeled as words you shouldn't say, right? Particularly for Christians, they have a lot of things you can't say this word, religious things, right? So let's talk about cursing as in cursing somebody, because that's also in the hadith. But ta'an wala la'an. He's not somebody who is la'an, who's cursing people. May Allah curse so-and-so, may Allah curse so-and-so. So the ulama, they disagree. Is it ever halal to curse a specific living person? So for example, say, may Allah curse Benjamin Netanyahu. Can you say that or not? So well, why would it be okay? Like, well, look, he's a big kafir and he kills Muslims. What's the problem? Why wouldn't I curse him? Say, well, is he going to die as a kafir? I don't know. Like, maybe he's going to become Muslim tomorrow. And then, khalas, all gone. So you're saying, oh Allah, don't put him in paradise, but Allah is destined that he's going to put him in paradise. So why are you telling what Allah to do? Telling what Allah to do, right? And so many of the ulama, they said it's not permissible to curse specific people. So if someone's wronged you, you can say, may Allah curse wrongdoers. But you can't say, may Allah curse that man for taking my family away from me, taking my house away from me, throwing me in prison for 25 years for doing this and this. You can't do that. You say, may Allah curse wrongdoers. May Allah curse the disbelievers. You can't say, may Allah curse them, right? You can't do that. Other ulama, they say you can do it because they're outwardly doing the sin and you basically, it's permissible. There is some evidence to it, but it's better to avoid it, right? It's better generally to avoid it, right? So we shouldn't say these kind of things, right? And then there is cursing, meaning swear words, saying swear words, right? And so, swear words, again, how to understand where do things work. Let's go back to the three, right? So when you somebody curse so hellfire, it's like immediately connected to the malakut of hellfire and paradise, and you saying, oh Allah, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, put him in the hellfire, right? Now, what about with swear words? When you say the F word, when you say all different things, right? What is happening in the mulk? Nothing's happening, right? It's just a vibration of sounds, and that's it. You might annoy somebody. It might be illegal in certain settings. I don't know if is it illegal. I guess like certain things, it's like not a big deal, but in the malakut, things are happening, right? The Prophet ﷺ, one of his wives said something bad about another one of his wives, and he said that that what you've just said were to be poured into the ocean, it would make it all black and hot and putrid. It would make it all like ruin. And so when we swear, when we curse, when we insult other people, this is what's happening in the malakut, right? Physically, things are happening, right? And so we have to be very, very careful about what we say. So there's two issues about when we say swear words. Al-fuhsh, speaking about the haram, and al-badha'a, speaking about something that's disgusting. So even if you know, people say, well, that word's in the dictionary. I don't really care if it's in the dictionary or not. It's still disgusting. So for example, you take a word, for example, about, you know, something that's disgusting. If it's a swear word, or it's just simply disgusting, for example, I'm sitting here for the next 20 minutes talking about vomit. Is that halal? So when you talk about it for a particular reason, it's a medical thing. Talking about when someone throws up, these are the signs that we have this, and medicine. It's like, are you talking about fiqh? You're talking about medicine? So no, I'm just talking about disgusting things for fun. That's haram. You can't do that. You can't talk about disgusting things. You can't just start talking about disgusting things because it's disgusting, right? In this life, it's disgusting, might make someone feel queasy. In the malakut, you're talking about things that are disgusting. The angels want to go away. They don't like it. It's not nice, right? And so you can't talk about disgusting things, right? You can't talk about disgusting things, right? You can't talk about feces. You can't talk about urine, unless there's some reason, right? You know, you're telling the plumber, oh, there's stuff stuck in the bath. What's stuck in the bathroom? It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, you have to tell him, right? There has to be some kind of reason for what you're talking about. But if you're just talking about disgusting things, you can't. It's just you don't do that, right? And then it's talking about the immoral, right? Talking about something that is immoral. So just sitting here talking about, you know, people drinking, talking about whatever, talking about, you know, all sorts of immoral things. So the default is you cannot speak about the haram unless there's a need. You don't talk about haram that you did or anybody else did unless there's a need. So, Sheikh, I used to do heroin. Is there a kafara? Do I have to like fast or do I have to do anything? I don't know. Did it break my fast? Does it do this? Do it that? You don't talk about, yeah, people do heroin all the time. You don't talk about it, right? About, you say, this sister, for example, she used to be a prostitute or she used to be in a, you know, and she became Muslim today. She just finished a relationship with her boyfriend 2 weeks ago. Does she have to go for like a waiting period? Like you have to talk about something. So, well, did this happen or did not? Like you have to ask people, right? And so sometimes you have to talk about certain things because there's a need to, right? But you don't just like sit around talking about things, right? It's almost like, it's like talking about, it's like, oh yeah, you're talking about, you know, your friend Khalid, right? He was in his country and his wife got raped. And you're like, Khalid, remember that time wife got raped? Alhamdulillah, you're safe from that. It's like, bro, hello, that's like a super insult to me, super insult. So you're doing that to Allah, saying, Allah, remember that time when when the act that you commanded not be done was done, your ibadah was raped. That's what sin is a rape of your ibadah. So you're saying, Allah, remember that happened, as if it's something like kind of cool. It's not, right? And if you think about the analogy, it's what happened. Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, you know, he was there with the Sahaba, they were together, and this man asked about what happens if you catch a man with your husband, with your wife, right? If you catch a man with your wife, and so Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh said, I would get my sword and keep cutting at him till his blood was cold. I was like, whoa! And so then the Prophet ﷺ takes opportunities. Do you think that's strange? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has more ghayrat than that, more ghayrat than that. So what's his ghaira is not considering his another wife, but it's considering haram things are done. So when you talk about something haram, it's just like, Allah, you disobeyed, yeah, you disobeyed here, disobeyed there. Like, it's not a joke, it's not funny. There's nothing funny about the haram. It's not interesting. It's not like, you know, something that we are, you know, if it happened to us in the past, we're ashamed of it. And if it happens to other people, we find it disgusting, we find it disturbing, etc. So talking about the haram is haram unless there's some kind of need. Talking about something disgusting is haram, and mentioning how swear words, right? And so mentioning swear words are haram. And as you mentioned, persistently doing things that are haram, that can make a sin, is just, it raises it from a minor sin to a major sin, right? So what the F, what the this, what the it's like, you know, it's haram, we can't do it, right? It's something we can't do. You can't just say these things, well, it's just what we say. Right. In Ireland, for example, they have the F-U-C-K word and they have the F-E-C-K word. That's how they say it, pronounce it. F-E-C-K. And it's just like anybody will say it. Oh, the effing, you know, weather. Oh, the effing this or that. Just like normal, right? Well, yeah, it's normal, but it's still wrong because what does it mean? Right? It's wrong, right? Now, there's certain words we might say, you know, like my aunt should say, oh, flipping this, flipping that. So the word flipping hell. What it means is effing hell. Got you saying effing hell on words, but they put this other word in its place. So is that haram? It's not very good, but it's like, what are you saying? Flipping is just flip. Like, it's not a big deal. Point is, it's like, this is like routine, common language you hear all the time, and it is haram, and you can't just keep doing it. Like, just say these things again and again and again. It's just like, that's how I speak or whatever, right? And so, it's haram, and we can't do it, right? So the Prophet said, the believer is not, he doesn't curse people, he doesn't backstab people, he doesn't, he doesn't talk about haram, he's not disgusting, talk about disgusting things. So F word is disgusting, or talking about something disgusting for no reason, right? You can't do these things. What about hella? Hella, so Rahim, hella is not from the word hell. So when you say this hella good, I'm pretty sure it's actually, the word hella goes back to, is Dutch originally. I think they say it means very in Dutch. So it's actually some kind of thing, maybe from New York, and then it's spread out America or something like that. There are a lot of Dutch people here as well in Sanford, in this area, right, in the Bay Area. A lot of Dutch people who were farmers and stuff like that. So I don't know where the word hella good, I don't know where that comes from, but I think it's actually Dutch. I think they say like hela or something like that for very.
What about heka?
Heka is something else. So here there's another issue. When you say what the heck, or what are my kids saying, what the heck, right? So what the heck? Now that's kind of like, it's not haram, but it's kind of like, it's not very appropriate. Like in Arabic they say someone's got like crazy ideas. They say afkar jahannamiyya, like crazy ideas, like ideas from Jahannam. It says like, do you know what Jahannam's like? I don't think the person has ideas from Jahannam. It's like, so it's kind of, it's not super appropriate, but it's not haram, right? It's not haram. So like, what the heck? It's not so heck means hell, the same thing. But it's not an issue of haram. It's not an issue of halal haram, an issue of adab, right? It's like you say, oh, what time is it? Wallah mish'arif in Arabic. I don't know. By Allah, I don't know. It's like, why did you say that? Just say it. Just whatever. Doesn't mean anything, right? It's just wallah this, wallah that, right? Who's heard Arabs say aywa, right? Aywa is short for e wallahi. Yes, by Allah. So it's just there in the speech, It's just like, there we go. Like goodbye. What is goodbye? God be with ye, right? But do you mean like you're making dua when you say goodbye? No, it's just how you speak, right? But it's important to look at the words. So, and then the point is, everybody knows what swear words are. And I remember I was shocked. In America, just seems to be like just swear words, just like whatever, it's kind of fine.
We have that too. In Farsi, you ask somebody what time is it, they don't know, for instance, say walana.
Yeah, they say yeah. So that's simply minorly inappropriate, but it's not haram, right? As opposed to, I remember the news was like last time I came here, I was like, the police is giving a presentation. He's like, mentions SHIT. I was like, on the news, a police officer? I was like, hello. And it's just like, well, it's not even an issue. Okay, so how we look at it, say, what does it mean? What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything else. It does not mean anything else. It means one thing. Very clear word. You can't say words like that. I don't care if it's normal or not. Just like I'm in Ireland and this old lady's like, the effing weather. And it's like, okay, that's your culture, but your culture is what we call the urf fasid, a widespread acceptable thing that is wrong, right? Like in American culture, people understand what it means to cheat on your girlfriend as opposed to having a girlfriend and dumping her. So a guy had a girlfriend for 6 months, and then they split up after 2 months, found another one. Is that considered immoral in American culture? No. Okay, what do you consider it? You call it zina. There's actually no difference. It's all the same. So there's an urf fasid, meaning if this is a kind of acceptable thing, this is what's acceptable in this situation, in this culture, but it's wrong. The whole thing's wrong, right? So it's like, yeah, I don't care like, whether it's acceptable or not. It's wrong. We don't do that. That's haram, right? So we spoke about what? Cursing other people. Then we've got backbiting. So backbiting is a big issue again. It's a very common thing. It's a part of a social thing, right? Particularly for women, right? So how do women talk? Is in emotional. They talk for emotional bonding, right? And many people do that. Talk for emotional bonding. So I'm trying to bond with. It helps me bond with him if I talk bad about Abdul Majid.
That's what we do already.
Right. So we do that, right? So it's a way of doing something. So I'm like, yeah, he's like this, and so I either bond because I make him laugh, or we share the opinion. He also has that same idea. So we both think he's like this, and he's like, dude, yeah, you're so right. He's like that. Now the question is, does Abdul Majid like that? The answer is no. Okay, is it halal? No. Right. So if the Prophet said, if it's true, then it's ghiba. If it's true, then it's ghiba. Right? Like you say that English, like Freed, for example, he can't speak English properly. It's like, okay, well, is that true? Is it? Yeah, he can't. He doesn't open his mouth. No one understands what he's saying. Okay, it's true. Does he like that? No. Okay, so that's ghiba. If it's not true, then that's buhtan. You're making a lie, a big fat lie about somebody. So you're either lying if it's true, or it's ghiba, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a big deal about the ghiba in the Quran. It says, it's like you're eating the flesh of a human being, right? And so this is a big deal, right? Ghiba is a big deal, right? And sometimes, you don't even realize it. I didn't know he didn't like that. It's like, yeah, Ratib's from Afghanistan. He doesn't like people saying that. For example, I teach a Korean guy, and I'm like, oh, you're Korean? He said, no, I'm American. Okay. I didn't realize you're sensitive about that issue. Like, you're clearly, like, you've got middle name is clearly Korean, and your second name is Kim, and it's like, come on, it's like, you're Korean. And he's like, he doesn't like that. Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize you didn't like that. Or he doesn't like certain things, so that's something else, right? So now, after you find out that he's sensitive about that, then it's going to be ghiba. I had no idea that person minded you saying, had an issue with you saying that, right? But the point is, you can't say something about somebody if they mind that issue. It doesn't matter if it's actually bad or not. People mind, right?
What if you're informing someone of that?
Yeah, of that fact?
Yeah.
For why are you informing them of that fact?
So they
don't bring it up again.
That's fine. Okay, so the guy, for example, that guy, for example, we all know somebody who's a dwarf, right? And he doesn't like to be referred to as a dwarf, and he doesn't like ever people referring to him as being short. So I'm just telling you, by the way, the guy, obviously we all know, don't do that, right? Don't do that. As opposed to like what, like in England, for example, I don't even know you can be American. If I'm like, yeah, he's talking to that black dude over there. Can we say that in American? I don't know. Is it an issue? I think some people will find it an issue, some people wouldn't, depending on the setting, right? Whereas I wouldn't say the black guy. It's like, there's nothing wrong with being called black, right? Whereas in certain people, like, if I know he minds being called that, or in that culture, that's a curse. You don't call people something like that. Then you can't do that, right? And so we got to be careful. What does a person mind being said, and what is not? And another, well, he doesn't mind saying that. Classic thing in Jordan, this is what the guy's younger. This with your sister, ha ha ha. And it's like they just laugh. It's like you're all bayghayrat and you're all whatever, and it's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter, just shabab, we just use this, okay? It's like, it doesn't matter that they say that. It doesn't matter that someone doesn't mind what you're saying. We all he doesn't mind me cursing at him. He's saying you effing da ha 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 ha. It's funny. Like, yeah, but it's haram to say it. It doesn't matter if he allows it to do it. It's like saying it's okay to do something haram to somebody who doesn't mind it. Okay, so you can go sleep with somebody, great. As long as they don't mind, right? So there are certain things like, no, this is hurma. What does haram mean? Like haram, al-masjid al-haram. What, the masjid is haram? It's a bad masjid? It means you can't go there. In this masjid, there's certain things that can't happen. Right? So the haram means you can't go there. It doesn't matter if the other person likes it, doesn't mind, whatever. It's irrelevant. Right? And right, so we've got backbiting. So we've got to be very, very careful with backbiting. And okay, then we've got two other, before we finish, we've got two other things. One other thing I'm thinking about to talk about. Yeah. So any questions on ghiba? It's clear, right? So this is a big, okay, the other issue with ghiba is when you're with other people, right? When you're with other people, even if they're non-Muslims, right? To what extent you can, you have to stop people making ghiba, right? So me and Abdullah, he picks me up on his way to work every day because he drops me off at the same place, and we always talk about Abdul Majid. Abdullah attends his lesson and hears me talking about this. Tomorrow I'm saying the same thing. She's like, Freed, can you stop doing that? So it's Abdul Majid's right that he stops me doing that. Like, stop saying these things. You can't just whatever. Now, sometimes people are like really in a mood and whatever. It's just like it's not the time. But you have to tell them like you can't say these things. You can't make ghiba. It's haram, right? One of the things that the Bani Israel they were taught. They were one of the reasons why they were cursed is what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says. كانوا لا يتناهون عن منكر فعلوه. Right? They used to never stop people doing shit haram. Right? They wouldn't stop each other doing haram, and so there's the right of the other person to say, hey, you can't say those words. Right? You can't say those things. Stop saying that. So even at work, I'm at work with, Abdullah works with Kevin, and Kevin's like, dude, Bob is just such a ... And he's like, so what does Abdullah do? He doesn't say fear Allah. He says, Kevin, this is a shared place here, right? A shared place. I want to have like a good place. I don't really care what you do in your public, but this is a shared place. When I know that you say stuff like to me, that means when I leave, you're probably going to say things about me. And that means I don't like working here, and he doesn't like working here, and you don't like working here. I don't like this shared space, right? Now, with non-Muslims, it's a bit difficult. Sometimes I do, what are you talking about? The guy is like that, and they just don't get it. But to whatever extent, particularly if you're in management, you can pull people out and say, hey, I'm in charge of the more kind of language. I don't want to hear it. I want to hear positive language. People can relate to that, like positive language, what's going on. Just answer your adhan, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. Okay. Another issue about the riba is what? Is riba is a halal when you're trying to solve a problem, or when you're trying to advise somebody else of harm, right? So Abdullah is being asked by a family who has a daughter that wants to marry Nasir. And you're like, and so Abdullah knows that Nasir is an alcoholic. Okay. Okay. Right?
Perfect example.
Perfect example. Okay. And so Abdullah's there sitting like, oh mashallah, be like, just don't say anything bad, don't do anything. It's like, we came and asked you, you're the only person who we know. And we came and asked you, and then they got married, and 2 weeks later this guy's like, what's going on? And it's like, hello, right? So someone else of harm. So this person has a problem. And so you should ideally just be vague. You'd be like, no, it's not a good person to marry. Like really, really not good a person to marry. Don't ask any more questions. And then they're like, okay, well, why? Like, can you please explain? So listen, this is all the same thing. I want to go in business with Abdul Shakur. Say, Abdul Shakur, mashallah, he's good memorizing the Quran. Business, don't go there. Right? For example, deal with him, trust him with this, don't trust him with money. You want to have details? I'll give you details. But I've done my job to you, because you're going to be harmed if you do that. I'm just joking, right? It's just, protecting from harm is important. Particularly in business, we've done it all the time, right? All the time it happens. Like, dude, I work with him. Fantastic brother, truthful, sincere, but it just doesn't get the job done. So don't hire him. Like, there's no point. You're not going to go anywhere, right? So these kind of things, this is just business. But then you added the extra sentence. Why did you have to throw the extra information in? Was it needed? No. Okay, then that's riba. So you give them what they need, not what they don't need. Right? Throw in the extra thing. No, why'd you do that? That was your nafs.
But if they ask for details, then you can't provide.
Yeah, because it's going to be relevant. It's like, okay, what's wrong with him then? You're saying, oh, he's Pashtun. Oh, great. That's not a reason, is it?
Well, that's a reason.
Right, that's not a reason. It's like, yeah, definitely the worst person to be Pashtun. Okay. Right, it's good.
It's a good reason.
Right. And so, yeah, right. And so the other thing then is also for yourself, right? My brother is in a relationship. I don't know what to do about it. Please help me. Like, I don't know what to do. So you came and asked somebody to solve the problem, right? And you were sharing information to solve the problem. But did you have to ask every person in the neighborhood to solve the problem? I'm asking you because you can help me solve the problem. Or somebody else can help the problem. But I put it on my Instagram thing. So-and-so, is doing this. And I spawn, go ahead.
Would it be a sin to hold back when that person's asking for good about, for example, my brother, my blood brother? I'm like, I don't want to make this guy get.
Would it be a sin? Would it be a sin? Yes, if you can anticipate harm to that person. So a person is going to business with your brother and he's just, forget it. And now your brother's going to be ticked off because he knew that he asked you that question. It's like, well, I'm sorry, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I love you as my brother, but I wouldn't go into business with you. And the person asked me. And I didn't go out and tell him. He came and asked me, should you go into business with you? And I said, no, the guy cannot work 9 to 5. Sorry. He can do go to school PS4 for 9 to 5, but he can't do 9 to 5. So I'm just telling you frankly, right?
The reason I asked is there's actually a real life situation
Yeah.
where the person cut off. because they gave a bad opinion. That was true, but it prevented them from getting married.
Yeah, but what do you want me to do? Harm the person? So you're angry with me because I saved someone else being harmed from you. What do you want me to do? Either I'm wrong, like I made a wrong judgment and I'm sorry, but before Allah, I can't let someone get wrong. So you can understand this person be ticked off with you. You're like, Fareed, like his lessons are boring, this. I'm like, dude, my lessons are interesting, right? So you stop my right? You stopped my what I thought was going to be like my setup, whatever. It's fine, but at the end of the day, you didn't want to harm someone harmed, right? We're running out of time.
One more question. In regards to this, we spoke about the sin of sin of the tongue. White line. Can you?
We spoke about it
Spoke about that.
in the beginning. Yeah.
Should I mention yourself?
What about debates?
Debates, you have to be very careful.
Oh.
Debates, you have to be very, very careful. So, no, Subhanallah, Sheikh Noor, my teacher, never he oversaw a debate. Sheikh Albani, actually, he came to his house, Sheikh Albani and somebody else, and Sheikh Noor actually sided with Sheikh Albani. But anyway, that was once, but he said never get involved. Many times there's a Sheikh in England who considers Sheikh Noor, my teacher, to be a kafir, and he said, you're a kafir and you have to remarry your wife, and da-da-da. He's like, and I challenge you to a debate. This guy's always debating everybody, debating Salafis, and it's like, it's not nice. What does Imam Shafi say? Imam Shafi says, إِذَا مَا كُنْتَ ذَا فَهْمٍ وَعِلْمٍ بِمَا اخْتَلَفَ الْأَوَائِلُ وَالْأَوَاخِرُ فَنَاظِرْ مَنْ تُنَاظِرْ بِسُكُونٍ إِيَّاكَ أَنْ تُلِحَّ وَلَا تُكَابِرْ. Imam Shafi, he had got many debates. Right? He debated, even academically, he debated Ibn Abbas and Sayyidina Ali. Why is Sayyidina Ali wrong? Why is Ibn Abbas wrong? Right? Imam Shafi got guts. Right? He has a book. He's like, where did these people make mistakes in fiqh? He's got some guts. But he said, when you know what the first ulama and the last ulama, you know what the whole discussions in fiqh and aqeed and everything, you know the whole shebang. فَنَاظِرْ مَنْ تُنَاظِرْ بِسُكُونٍ, and then debate whoever you want to debate with tranquility of heart. You're not angry. It's just a debate, right? إِيَّاكَ أَن تُلِحَّ, when you keep saying you're wrong, right? You didn't know, right? So I'm having a debate with Abdul Shakur, and Abdul Shakur made a mistake. It's like, Abdul Shakur, you made a mistake, right? Remember, you remember the hadith wrong? You made a mistake, everyone. How is that relevant to the debate? Whether he made a mistake in the ayah or the hadith, that's irrelevant. You're just trying to put someone down, trying to smash somebody. It's not a smashing thing. It's about the truth. The truth. He says, "Iyaka an tulahha," to kill somebody. You're wrong, right? Say that you're wrong. Say that you're wrong, right? Say that I was right. Say you didn't know that word, did you? Right? You didn't even know Arabic. Whatever. Like it's like it doesn't matter if it's Arabic. There's a point. Even if he doesn't know Arabic, doesn't know the hadith, it doesn't matter. It's the argument. إِيَّاكَ أَن تُلَحَّ وَلَا تُكَابِرْ. Pump yourself up. So Imam Shafi said, I never debated anybody save that I prayed that Allah should manifest the tongue on my opponent. I want it's the truth. It's not about me. And so most of the time, you should never get involved in debates ever. And that's what my teacher says. Someone has a debate with you, do it in writing. What is your argument? What is my argument? What is your argument? What is my argument? Khalas. Never get involved, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna end up getting emotions get involved. You can slam somebody or quote something wrong or do these things. Is very dangerous. The last thing we want to talk about, because we've got to pray, is sum'ah. Sum'ah is, mashallah, 20 rakahs last night. Tahajjud, mashallah. Didn't catch me?
No bragging.
Did you hear me? Next time it's like, so bragging, right? So bragging is it depends on your intention. So you can say, how many rakahs did you pray last night? Alhamdulillah, I prayed 1,000 rakahs last night. Full stop.
That's typical.
Right? It's just like, right? Right? As opposed to, you said it and you're hoping that somebody should know what you're doing, right? Right? And so it's a bit like riyah, it's a bit like showing off. Because showing off is doing something when you want other people to think you're more religious. But then sum'ah is showing off. You say sum'at, you say that in Farsi, sum'at. It's like you're renowned, right? What's your name? Right? So mashallah, just bought a Mercedes. It's like, okay. And you're trying to show everybody, I've just got the new Mercedes. I just got the new this. So saying something with your tongue in order to show off to other people. You want people to think that you're really wealthy, you're really intelligent, you're really religious, right? As opposed to, yeah, mashallah, alhamdulillah, I just bought Hollywood, just like that, Bushwick Wall Street, as a fact, right? As opposed to, what is your intention? So that with that, it's not an issue of what you're saying, it's the issue of why you're saying it.
Can I ask you a question based on the book that you said, right? So
so this is what's it called? Not better. What's I don't know what the phrase is, but I asked the guys to read a book that I can't even read. Right, it's in Farsi in order. I don't even know what it says.
So one of the page that you mentioned here, the misal wal iman nikah sunnat as wake وکسی که دعوت کرده شد باید که قبول کند و اگر به حضور قبول نکند.
This is about the
Asma.
walima, right? With the walima.
Yeah,
Walima.
but it says the word asma means, so what I looked it up here, asma means is a sin.
It's a sin.
So if you get dawat for,
last time everybody was cutting off somebody. So they were saying,
oh, it's time. It's 1 minute left.
Yeah, sure.
So I have.
So, but the issue is basically someone invites. Someone invites.
Asma means a sin. So you get sin if someone's dawat to you, but you don't get it. It means a sin.
Yeah, unless you have an other. You have an other.
Don't stop.
A cousin in Canada asked clarification on permissible ghiba. Like, to what extent can one go with backbiting / talking about one behind their back if they're an oppressor or they have wronged you? What's the ruling on warning against people of misguidance and telling people to avoid him?
Yes. So it's got to be only as much as they need to remove the dhulm. So I need to tell the court, I need to tell the police, I need to tell you because you're going to help me, as opposed to just sharing information with people they can't help you, right? And also simply warning other people. You only tell them as much as they need to know. Like the guy does crack and he does cocaine and he does crack and heroin. It's like the guy's a druggie. Full stop.
So if I say, is a guy a druggie, you say yes, that's it.
Yeah, the guy's.
But if I say,
has problems.
what do you mean? What drugs does he do? Can you still answer that?
If they need that, as opposed to you now just throwing in all this information that they don't even need.
Okay, just stay away from that.
For you
Just
to
stay away from
but yeah,
that.
to you're trying to make it think you're saying things because this is the information that's needed by the other person to save me from this problem, or to save him from that problem. But if they don't need that information, then leave it.
He said, Jazakallah khair.
Barakallahu feek. So just send a check to Ratish.